Good morning and welcome to another edition of COVID Calls. Today we have a number of interesting guests. We're going to start with the Home Affairs Minister, Byron, Camilleri, and we also have the opposition spokesman on Home Affairs, Beppe, Fenech, Adami, and a couple of other speakers later on. But I know that we've got some limited time with the Minister, so we're just going to start with him. Byron, grazie ħafna tal-li ġejt fuq il-program tagħna. I'm going to be to the audience. I'm going to be switching between English and Maltese because we have a number of speakers who speak English and a number who just speak Maltese. But it's true. Tista' tgħidilna ftit is-sitwazzjoni f'Ħal Far kif inhi, ġifieri hemm ħafna immigranti li qed jibżgħu li qegħdin kwarantinati hemmhekk ma' ħafna nies essenzjalment li qed jibżgħu li this is the recipe to make the situation worse.
Is-sitwazzjoni f'Ħal Far bħal dejjem ngħid jien kien hija waħda ta' sfida. Hija ta' sfida għaliex kif jaf kulħadd hemm numri ta' persuni li rresjedu hemmhekk illi issa għandhom l-obbligu ta' kwarantina illi ġi komunikat jew inkella ġi obbligat lilhom minn naħa tas-Superintendent tas-Saħħa Pubblika, u allura aħna bħala Ministeru tal-Intern għandna l-obbligu illi bl-istess mod illi qed nagħmlu mal-bqija ta' dawk kollha li rresjedu madwar Malta u Għawdex illi allura ninforzaw dak l-obbligu ta' kwarantina, għandna l-obbligu illi wkoll ninforzaw dan l-obbligu ta' kwarantina hemmhekk. Jiena naħseb illi l-ikbar
intom qed tippruvaw tipproteġu r-residenti temm ġew jew in-nies barra mir-residenza tal-Open Center.
Aħna għandna l-obbligu li nipproteġu kulħadd, irrelevanti min-nazzjonalità tiegħek, irrelevanti mill-kulur tal-ġilda tiegħek. La darba hemm din l-ordni mis-Superintendent tas-Saħħa Pubblika, aħna għandna l-obbligu li ninforzawha. La darba hemm din l-ordni ngħatat mis-Superintendent tas-Saħħa Pubblika illi ma ngħatatx għal raġuni illi ma kienx hemm. Kien hemm min għalilna għalqu dawn l-open centers minn qabel qasbis kien hemm każ wieħed. Jiena ma naqbilx magħhom, ma kienx la dar jingħalaq biss jekk hemm kwistjonijiet ta' saħħa illi kif iddikjarat is-Superintendent tas-Saħħa Pubblika. Però l-ikbar sfida issa li għandna qudiemna hija illi nikkomunikaw. Sa mill-bidunet rajna illi
affarijiet hekk hux hekk ħan nisimgħu fil-fatt mill-komunità tas-Sirjani li huwa qed jipprova jagħmel translations għall-Arbi pereżempju għax hemm problemi bil-lingwa u hekk.
Iva, l-ikbar problema hija l-komunikazzjoni. Komunikazzjoni mhux biss tal-lingwa, imma xi kultant anke l-state of mind ta' persuna li forsi jibda jaħseb xi ħabb inkella xi punishment liha. Bl-istess mod li hemm diversi Maltin u Għawċin u anke barranin li jgħixu barra l-Open Center, hemm ukoll dan l-obbligu illi anke daw il-persuni sfortunatament għandhom jagħmlu dan l-obbligu ta' kwarantina. Allura qed ningħataw biex jiena ma l-aġenzina għajnuna minn diversi leaders tal-komunità anke minn uffiċjali tal-UNHCR illi qed jgħinu anke fit-translations u anke għajnuna oħra kull min jista' joffri tip ta' għajnuna biex nikkomunikaw aħjar u sabiex daw il-persuni jgħaddu dan l-obbligu ta' kwarantina fl-aħjar mod possibbli jingħataw anke diversi għajnuniet. Pereżempju jiena niddejjaq nara, pereżempju l-bieraħ rajt fuq Lovin ta' stess illi xi persuna ħaseb illi dak kien l-unika fl-ixkun ilma li kien se jirċievi matul il-ġurnata. Ma kienx il-każ u allura naħseb illi hemmhekk inkunu fallejna illi milli nikkomunikaw u għaliex ma' kull mil illi daw il-persuni jingħataw fil-ħin tal-ġurnata jiġifieri nitkellmu fuq breakfast, nitkellmu fuq lunch u fuq dinner, jingħataw anke ilma flimkien ma' dawk. Jiena nifhem illi qabel fil-waqt li qabel ma kinux jirċievu ilma mill-Open Center imma qabel se joħroġ barra u jixtri kemm irid. U allura forsi beda jaħseb dak
il-problema li anke bħala ikellu hekk qabel kienu jistgħu joħorġu jixtru li jridu issa ma jistgħux. Għandi klib żgħira.
Dejjem kun jiġbdu miċ-ċentru, jiġifieri l-ikel, ovvjament dak li jkun seta' jażel li ma jkollx miċ-ċentru, imma l-ikel dejjem kien jiġi prodott miċ-ċentru u jiena informat li ħafna mill-persuni li jgħixu hemmhekk
il-connection huwa ftit batut, imma rrid nuri video clip. Tkellimna ma' xi ħadd li qiegħed Ħal Far biex forsi n-nies jistgħu jifhmu l-atmosfera li hemm hemmhekk. Tieni sekonda.
So tell me, you are in Ħal Far?
Yes, I'm in Ħal Far right now.
And what is the situation like right now?
Right now it is quite well, but yesterday it was so incredible. So in order to get the food, that means we can be in the queue. So by this way, we are helping coronavirus in order to increase much more among us.
So you are in quarantine. You are in quarantine. Hundreds of people, right? And there's hundreds of people to get food.
Scusani, there's a bit of technical issues with that, but basically what he's saying is we're 8 people to a room. We're worried. We're in queues to get food. We're worried about our that the situation at the moment is going to be worse for the spread of coronavirus. Inti xtajdilhom daw l-immigranti li huma imbeżżajn għal ħajthom għal daw l-affarijiet.
Jien naħseb li kull persuna f'Malta għawdex huma mbeżza f'dan il-moment, inkluż jien, probabbilment inkluż int, għaliex l-inċertezza li hemm qudiemna ma nafux jekk dan iż-żmien hux se jgħaddi. Kulħadd nemnu, jiena nemmen ukoll li dan iż-żmien ikraħ fuq id-dinja ser jgħaddi, iżda nifhem il daw il-persuni li forsi għandhom inqas sigurezza minni u minnek li flaxija mmorru fid-dar privata tagħna. Però aħna bħala Ministeru tal-Intern, bħala AWAS, qed nagħmlu minn kollox sabiex nikkomunikaw aħjar ma' daw il-persuni u naraw li daw il-persuni jingħataw dak kollu li għandhom bżonn. Ma ħadniex illum din id-deċiżjoni, ħadniha ftit ġimgħat ilu, id-deċiżjoni li anka fuq il-post ikun hemm sptar. Imexxi mir-Red Cross illi qed jagħti l-ewwel assistenza lil dawn il-persuni. U mbagħad fuq il-post iħossu illi dawn il-persuni għandhom imbagħad imorru Mater Dei jiġu trasportati lejn Mater Dei jew l-sistema tas-saħħa tagħna. Rajna illi għal daqstant ikun hemm l-ewwel assistenza medika fuq il-post anke permezz tar-Red Cross illi bħala Ministeru tal-Intern qegħdin inħallsu għal dan is-servizz imma naħsbu li huwa servizz importanti li medikament ikun offrut anke lil dawn il-persuni. Hemm mbagħad servizzi oħra li qed nagħtu lil dawn il-persuni illi jkun hemm aktar Wi-Fi hotspots ġewwa, illi jingħataw kotba, illi jingħataw diversi
il-Wi-Fi. Irrid indaħal ftit il-Beppe Fenech Adami wkoll forsi jista' jagħti il-veduta wkoll tal-oppożizzjoni f'dar rigward. Beppe, għandek il-Ministru hawnhekk x'tgħidu fuq il-każ ta' Ħal Far?
Jiena naħseb illi bħal Poplu Malti nkwetat ħafna b'dak li jiġri f'Ħal Far, dak jiġri fl-Open Center li jista' effettivament huwa close center. Aħna bħala oppożizzjoni umilment ngħidu illi jridu nindirizzaw il-kwistjoni tal-overcrowding illi hemm f'dana l-Open Center. Jiena ngħid illi pajjiżna kellu l-vantaġġ illi dak li ġara f'pajjiżi oħra tliet ġimgħat ilu qed iseħħ f'Malta tliet ġimgħat wara. Allura kellna il-benefiċċji li stajna nitalmu minn dak li jagħmlu pajjiżi oħra, mill-iżbalji li jagħmlu pajjiżi oħra u mit-tajjeb li jagħmlu pajjiżi oħra. U llum minn kull min qed isegwi kif qed tiżvolġi dis-sitwazzjoni jgħidlek illi l-ikbar uġigħ ta' ras il-ħmar il-lejla din jgħiduli wara minn Malta huwa li jekk ifaqqawlek għall-pandemija ġo postijiet fejn għandek numru kbir ta' nies maqfulin flimkien. U dik hija s-sitwazzjoni bħalissa. Jiġifieri jiena naħseb il-problema li għandna bħalissa huwa li il-gvern fil-fema tiegħi ma ħax meżuri biżżejjed biex inaqqas il-kwistjoni tal-overcrowding. Illum għandna sitwazzjoni u ma naħsibx tkun għaref ħafna biex tifhem illi meta għandek 1000 ruħ maqfulin flimkien għandek kif rajna dak ir-ritratt li tal-ftit minuti ilu. Hemmhekk donnu m'hemmx il-prinċipju tas-social distancing meta tgħid li qed jew minn nies ġo container house, jiġi minn l-ewwel tifhem illi hemm ġew għandek sitwazzjoni barra minn Malta sewa powder cake, ġifieri kważi spluttiv. Għandek Super Adami, intom fuq il-kaċċa pereżempju għedtu li kieku kien għalikom ma kontux tiftħu l-istaġun tal-kaċċa. Fuq dan il-każ, jekk kontu intom fil-gvern u taraw li hemm COVID hemm min jittestja pożittiv għal COVID.
x'tagħmlu
il-pariri u dak li qed jiġi barra minn Malta huwa li tindirizza l-kwistjoni tal-overcrowding. Aħna għandna dover bħala pajjiż illi nipproteġu lin-nies hemm barra u nagħmlu sew nieħdu miżuri kollha biex tipproteġu n-nies hemm barra. Llum għandek sitwazzjoni, u jiena tikellmuli bħal m'għandix tikellmu lill-Ministru, soldati, pulizija, llum għandna sitwazzjoni fejn għandek 1000 ruħ maqfula fi spazju limitat ħafna, għandek ukoll mijiet illum ta' pulizija u soldati li huma deployed fuq dik l-area, huwa tajjeb illi jittamtejn, però tajjeb li nipproteġu dawn in-nies iktar. Issa jiena ma rridx nallarma lin-nies, però n-nies huma inkwetati, speċjalment dawn li qegħdin hemm ġew, ġustament huma inkwetati nerġa' ngħid. Ikollok tmien min nies illi mhux l-istess familja dawn ġejjin minn ambjenti differenti, dawn l-istess għall-biraħtura jkunu jaħdmu fil-postijiet tax-xogħol tagħhom li jgħodu hemmhekk. Żgur irid isir element ta' swabbing iktar urġenti għal dawn in-nies kollha, u jiena nemmen u anke nitgħallmu nerġa' ngħid dak li tiġi barra minn Malta illi qatt hemm lok illi naraw kif nistgħu iva innaqsu l-overcrowding u nażlu dawk li huma iktar vulnerabbli minn dawk li huma inqas vulnerabbli, dawk li huma possibilment infettati minn dawk li mhumiex infettati biex innaqsu kemm jista' jkun l-ispett. Dan kollu qed jingħad mhux biex niskorjaw politikament, dan qed jingħad biex naħseb li din hija teorija, din hija prassi li qiegħda tiġi adottata anke barra minn pajjiżna. Għax li tiġi Franza, l-Ingilterra, dak li qed jiġi tard ħafna ġewwa l-Italja, dak li qed jiġi anke l-Amerika u dina l-policy. We have to address overcrowding. That is one of the main remedies to avoid a total outbreak in such.
Irrid nara just qabel ma niġi għalik nerġa' l-Ministru, irrid nisimgħu wkoll mingħand Taleb Zaldan huwa il-community leader tas-Sirjani. Inti Taleb, inti temmen li kulħadd għandu jiġi testjat Ħal Far, x'huma l-opinjoni tiegħek?
Jiena l-opinjoni tiegħi li hu stib tajjeb li jagħmlu karantina taċ-ċentru ta' Ħal Far, imma l-istib mhux nagħmlu karantina biss għax inti għamilt li ħalliet 1000 persuna ġewwa sentru magħluq. Dol l-1000 persuna għad jużaw l-istess toilet, l-istess kamra ta' banju. Fimtni? Naħna konna mill-aħjar li tagħmel ma tagħmel il-karantina minn bagħad tagħmlu t-testijiet tal-swab. Veri kull maw 1000 persuna f'Ħal Far, fiċ-ċentru ta' Ħal Far. Jekk ħanamlu f'Malta issa jagħmlu l-aktar minn 700 swab fil-ġurnata. Jekk għamlu jumejn f'Ħal Far għamlu t-testijiet tal-swab, jistu jafu min għandu l-Covid u min ma għandux. Min għandu jistu jagħmlu l-karantina, min ma għandu jistu jħallu ġewwa ċ-ċentru ta' Ħal Far.
Fimtek. Mela ħansaqsu.
Naħna rridu naqsu l-istatus tal-Covid. Issa bħalissa naħna ħallihom 15 ġurnata ġewwa Ħal Far. Minn bagħad ħajjiżdiedu mhux ħajjenaqsu.
Alright.
Ġifieri naħna mhux għad nselbi l-problema, naħna għad ngħattija, mhux għad nselbija.
Ministru, inti x'taħseb allura l-ewwel net tistgħu tagħmlu testijiet fuq kulħadd li qiegħed hemm ġew jew or is this just not possible biex tagħmlu testijiet ma' kull resident ta' Ħal Far?
Nixtieq ngħid 3 punti. L-ewwel żewġ punti nixtieq dak li qal il-kollega tiegħi Beppe Fenech Adami. Illi l-post ħadd ma
nisimgħuk sew.
Beppe Fenech Adami jista' jgħidilna fejn jieħodhom. L-unika post vojt li naf probabbli huwa d-dar ċentrali tal-Partit Nazzjonalista, iżda fil-każ jgħidilna fejn. Jieħodhom għax-xahar, jieħodhom ta' Tliema, jieħodhom raħalżin. Jgħidilna fejn irid jieħodhom għalissa issa ilu jgħid illi irid jieħodhom post ieħor u għadu ma qalx fejn jieħodhom post ieħor. Jiena bħalissa m'għandix post ieħor fejn nkun nista' nieħduhom. Kulħadd jixtieq illi jkollu post għalih waħdu fejn jagħmel karantina, inkluż membri tal-familja tiegħi, inkluż persuni oħra Maltin u Ewċini li naf. Kulħadd jixtieq. Iżda jekk huwa dak il-post li għandna, daw il-persuni Malta tagħmel ħafna magħhom u dak kollu li nistgħu nagħmlu għandna nagħmluh. Iżda li mbagħad niġu ngħidu isma' għandhom imorru post ieħor, meta kulħadd jaf li m'hemmx ieħor post lest li huwa preparat jew inkella illi huwa available sabiex ikun hemm numru ta' persuni li jagħmlu kwarantina, żgur illi allura dik il-kritika ma tkunx waħda ġusta jew inkella waħda illi tagħmel sens. Bħalissa ma dawk kollha li qed isir l-swab fuqhom u jinstabu pożittivi ma mhijiex parti mill-bqija tas-soċjetà l-oħra ġewwa dan iċ-ċentru. Mela li ngħidu li hemm persuni pożittivi mal-bqija ta' dawn il-persuni ġewwa dan iċ-ċentru mhuwiex minnu. Bħala gvern mhux illum, iżda ġimgħat ilu għamilna l-isptar ta' Red Cross. L-isptar ta' Red Cross għalhekk jgħid biex kwalunkwe persuna li tkun pożittiva tmur ġewwa dan l-isptar u tingħata kura medika dak il-ħin ġewwa dak il-post. Għaliex aħna verament jinteressana mis-saħħa medika ta' dawn il-persuni u rridu naraw illi nataw trattament mediku propju fuq il-post tagħhom stess ġewwa ċ-ċentru f'parti segregata miċ-ċentru jew inkella f'parti oħra li tkun segregata mill-bqija. Dawk illi hemm ġewwa ċ-ċentru mhumiex nies pożittivi, huma nies li qed jagħmlu kwarantina.
Ministru, imma hemm lokal pereżempju biex tagħmlu xi biex tużaw xi lukanda vojta jew xi cruise liner vojt jew xi post vojt fejn jistgħu jagħmlu l-kwarantina iktar individualment milli kulħadd fl-istess. I mean daw ma 8 people to a bedroom u qed jgħidu.
Il-maġġoranza tagħhom huma 6 mhux 8 u l-gvern m'għandux le posti ieħor fejn jagħmel jekk hemm xi ħadd jekk jiġi xi ħadd li jidħol is-swabbing dil-ġimgħa stess kont konferenza stampa mal-Ministru Chris Peregin u fejn jidħol is-swabbing aħna noqogħdu totalment fuq dawk li jgħidulna l-awtoritajiet tas-saħħa. Illi tagħmel swabbing lil kulħadd tista' tagħmilha. Iżda l-koll nafu, jiena m'iniex tabib imma minn dak li qed jgħidulna l-awtoritajiet tas-saħħa. Il-koll nafu li inti meta tiswabja ruħek għaliex jista' jkun li 4 ijiem wara ħadd toħroġlok għaliex tkun missejt ma' persuna jew ikun tak persuna pożittiv dan il-virus tkun qed tagħti ċertezza falsa. U għalhekk hemm il-bżonn ta' kwarantina ta' 15-il ġurnata, kieku inti bis-swabbing tkun taf hekk se joħroġlok jew le, ma jkunx hemm il-bżonn li ta' bniedem jagħmel kwarantina. U kien għalhekk illi l-awtoritajiet tas-saħħa qalu illi daw il-persuni għandhom jagħmlu kwarantina. Li tagħmlu l-swabbing mhijiex problema. Kull persuna li għandha s-sintomi qed tiġi swabjata. Kull persuna, inkluż fil-jiem li qabel kien hemm dan il-perjodu ta' kwarantina, inkluż issa. Għaliex l-awtoritajiet tas-saħħa ser ikunu qed imorru anke fuq il-post propju f'dan l-isptar tal-Red Cross li qiegħed hemmhekk u jagħmlu swabbing lil kull min iħoss is-sintomi. Aħna jinteressana illi jgħaddi dan il-perjodu u l-persuni kollha f'Malta u Għawdex, inkluż il-parti tas-soċjetà tagħna li tirresjedi għal ftit xhur ġewwa l-Open Center tkun b'saħħitha illi jgħaddi dan il-virus nirbħuh flimkien u il-waqt li f'dan il-perjodu nieħdu ħsieb xulxin. L-ikbar naħseb sfida tagħna ħadib għall-komunikazzjoni ma' dawn il-persuni kif qal il-ħabib tiegħi skużani ma nafx jismu l-lider tal-komunità Sirjana. Huwa tajjeb ħafna li nikkomunikaw għaliex qed nagħmlu minn kollox hemm il-ħaddiema tal-awas li qed jagħmlu minn kollox sabiex naraw li dan il-perjodu jgħaddi b'wiċċ il-ġid, hemm il-forzi tal-ordni tagħna li qed jagħmlu minn kollox mhux biss fejn jidħol il-ċentru miftuħ ta' Ħal Far, iżda fejn tidħol illi nipproteġu s-soċjetà Maltija u Għawċija u dawk kollha li jirresiedu fostna.
Ministru, grazzi ħafna u naf li għandek bżonn just forsi tagħtina spunt ta' aħbarijiet. Kien hemm xi żvilupp fuq tal-Kummissarju peress li għandi lilek hawnhekk irid insaqsik fuq l-appuntament tal-Kummissarju tal-Pulizija.
Iva, naħseb għandna aħbarijiet tajbin ħafna għaliex il-Parlament approva din il-liġi ġdida li hija waħda storika li għall-ewwel darba ħadd naqqas l-involviment tal-politiċi minn din il-ħatra tal-Kummissarju, ħadd ieħor jista' jikkritikana kemm irid imma ma kellux il-gazz jew ma kellux ir-rieda politika li jagħmel daw it-tibdiliet illi qegħdin isiru u allura nħares il qudiem illi f'pajjiżna jinħatar Kummissarju tal-Pulizija bl-aktar mod trasparenti fl-istorja. Grazie ħafna u l-ġurnata tajba lilkom kollha.
We'll move on to the other guests as well. Grazie Ministru. Beppe, l-ewwel net rrid nisma' reazzjoni tiegħek għal dak li ntqal minn Ministru. I just want to before we do this, I just want to give a bit of an update even to our foreign listeners that now Malta has registered 52 new cases of COVID, so I believe this is possibly the highest number recorded since the start of the outbreak, so that must be must be said. And yeah, I mean, there's this situation developing in Ħal Far. What is your opinion, Minister, about what's your opinion, Beppe, about the things the Minister was saying?
No, I've just heard the Minister, and my first reaction is, yes, the Minister has just confirmed that they have not prepared for such an eventuality. It is a fact that in all European countries and in America, they are addressing the problem of possible spread of the pandemic in closed areas where there's a concentration of people by addressing the overcrowding issue. The Minister just confirmed that this matter has not been addressed in the preparatory stages, and now has just confirmed that they have no plan, they have no idea, I would say, how they can reduce the overcrowding within the center. The Minister has just confirmed that they have not prepared for such, are not prepared for such an eventuality. I have to stress this. It is not the opposition who is saying that overcrowding is an issue. This matter of overcrowding is an issue all over the world at the moment. All closed centers, all open centers which are now closed, all prisons are addressing the overcrowding issue before there is the spread of the virus. Unfortunately, the Minister has just confirmed that we are late in the day. We are late because we have a situation where the virus is spreading in the closed center. And the only way that the Minister intends to address this is by saying that let's keep these 1,000 people closed in a very confined space with six, not 8. He gave us the comfort that it's 6, not 8, sleeping in a container. And it's very evident that that is the recipe for the spread of the virus.
But what is the alternative?
So what other countries are doing is finding alternative places. The Minister said he has no places. I would advise the Minister to seek new places, even by forking out money, if necessary, to see if there is the private sector who is interested in assisting in this matter. I can think of the private sector, I can think of the church, I can think of many institutions in the country who, if helped financially, if helped logistically, could possibly be in a position to offer alternative sites whereby this overcrowding can be reduced.
Okay.
Which I said, I have no place. I would advise the Minister to seek to learn from what's happening abroad and understand that this is a matter which should be addressed immediately. It applies to the closed centers. It applies even, I would say, to our prisons.
I'd like to bring Maria. Maria, thank you very much for connecting with us. Human rights activist. I don't know how else you would describe yourself, but I'd like to get you to get your opinion on what's happening in Ħal Far. Is this an acceptable situation? Is this something that you're worried about?
Morning, Chris, and thanks for the invitation. I wasn't able to follow all of the conversation this morning because the line's been a bit tricky. Can we just pause for a second to really understand the context? You have 1,000 people in a very small space. They are living in containers, 6 to 8 in a room. So whilst this virus has affected all of us, and we're all scared, and we're all having to make sacrifices. In the case of the centre, when we say household, we mean room. So a room with 8 adults sleeping in it. 1,000 people in the centre. I can't remember the exact number of toilets, if it's 10 or 20. So it's either 50 toilets to a person or 100 toilets to a person. They don't have a fighting chance. So of course the situation isn't acceptable. It can never be acceptable. Even the whole notion of quarantine. The Minister says information is important, but the information needs to be honest. If we are saying that they need to be quarantined for 2 weeks, let's say I'm able to avoid the infection for a week or even for 2 weeks. At some point, it will happen. So at the end of those 2 weeks, the chances are I will be infected and the quarantine is just going to continue. What is the exit strategy? That there is no way that this can work under these conditions. So nobody is saying, no, they shouldn't be quarantined. Of course, we all need to do our bit, but we all need to be given the right conditions to be able to deal with the situation. So what is not clear to any of us is what is the exit strategy on this? And how are we going to deal with it in a dignified way, in a way that people are able to protect themselves? Because as things stand, they cannot protect themselves. It's physically impossible. It's just impossible. So yes, first and foremost, we have asked that alternative accommodation be made available so that they might be able to quarantine themselves in an appropriate way that makes sense. And that means spending money, but money that is not just for the good of the refugee community, but for all of us.
I think it must be said, sorry to stop you, but I think it must be said that besides the fact that these are, human beings in the center who need to be protected, there's also the reality, as we said before, there's 52 new cases today. There's the reality of how much strain this is going to put on the healthcare sector for everybody, right? So if this outbreak in Ħal Far continues in a rapid way, then everybody in Malta is going to face the brunt of that, right?
Chris, I think you can look at this from 3 different perspectives. You can look at it as the decent thing to do. You can look at it in terms of human rights obligations, and you can also look at it from a public health perspective. When I say we, there is no Maltese or refugee. The only way we are going to get through this is together. So our approach is only as strong as the weakest link. If we are not going to treat people with equity, then we will all suffer. This is a public health reality. This isn't, so if you don't want to take the decency argument and you don't want to take the human rights argument, then just from a selfish perspective, if we are going to get through this, then we have to do it grounded on a basis of solidarity and equity and inclusion. There is no other way out. Otherwise, this is just going to keep going round and round and round. So
what do you think is holding back the authorities? Is the question, do you think, of not wanting to spend the money that is needed to do this? The question of there actually not being space. I mean, theoretically, the hotels.
This is an emergency. So money we can find money. The nation can find money. This is at the moment, this is a crisis for all of us, and our priority in terms of where money goes needs to be on access in dealing with our collective recovery. So we know that money can be spent on accommodation. This isn't a luxury. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And we know that there is accommodation available. So let's just get on with it. Sometimes I think that the stalling is the legacy of how refugee issues have been dealt with historically. And I have to say, it's really frustrating if I think of Médecins du Monde report in 2005, the Médecins Sans Frontières report in 2013, God knows how many pieces of research we've done over the years of ongoing advocacy, making the argument based on strong evidence that the open centres are not conducive, not just to the well-being, the health and well-being of the residents, but to society at large. It's a sod it, we are where we're at now. Hopefully in the future, the issues will be addressed in a concrete way. But I think we've kind of created this environment where it is not okay to meet the needs of and the rights of of asylum seekers in a dignified way. Well, now if we don't do it now, it's not just about their well-being; it's about our well-being too. And a decision needs to be taken from a public health perspective, if not from a human rights perspective.
What are the NGOs doing in all of this? As in, you're seeing this happening. I mean, you're clearly quite irate about it, but
in many different things. I mean, let me speak about Integra. We're a voluntary organisation. We would normally be providing English lessons in our drop-in. So our drop-in centre has essentially migrated online, so we're still providing English lessons and ongoing support virtually. We've offered our support to Awas. We're ready to go physically in there. We have volunteers who are ready to provide support. We're also helping out with material goods, towels, basic toiletries, because now people can't go out, water. People have been donating as well to provide this kind of support. The NGOs have been working with UNHCR on translations, cultural mediators and others have stepped forward, and this has all been done on a voluntary basis. So not only have we been responding, but we are happy and able and willing to respond further. What we don't...
Are you engaging with the government, for example, to try and secure other locations, or the private sector to try and secure other locations? I see we're getting a comment from Aditus. How about a public tender for calling for hotels, hostels and vacant spaces to put people in places where they can self-isolate in a decent and safe space? Are we too late for that even?
No, too late in what sense? If we continue, if the situation in How Far remains as it is, then everybody in How Far will be infected. We're definitely not too late. Then we've seen the cases today as well. If we're going to get out of this, then we need to do something different. And that means providing a space where people can quarantine safely and in a dignified way.
Beppe, I'd just like to bring you back on. Unfortunately, Taleb is no longer on the call. Something had a lot of technical problems with this episode. But Beppe, what do you think, as in this idea of a public tender to find other accommodation? How would it be received politically, do you think?
This is what's happening abroad. You see what's happening in France, for example. Let's take the French model. In France, that is what they're doing. Government has rented out hotels to relocate refugees, and very interesting enough, they've rented out hotels to accommodate people who are going through violence at home, domestic violence. And because the reception centers of domestic violence are not accepting new people, and France has gone one step ahead. Government has rented out hotels whereby anyone suffering from domestic violence can check in there. This is a state of emergency. This is a state we are in a crisis, and government should find all the money to take all the measures to reduce the spread of the virus to the best possible. And one of the best ways to reduce the spread of the virus is definitely to reduce overcrowding. Listen, I say this about the closed centers, I say this about the open centers, and I say this as well with regards to our prisons. There is
what are you suggesting when it comes to the prison? That prisoners are given hotel accommodation? And
no, absolutely. My part, I myself have already made a number of proposals. We have suggested to government to, first of all, identify those prisoners who are of an old age and who have health conditions. Those should be isolated out immediately. Let's learn what other countries are doing. In the UK, for example, they've just decided to literally release a number of prisoners who are at the end of their prison term. We did not go that far, but definitely there are a number of prisoners who are going towards the end of their term. And government should consider the possibility of ending their prison term under house arrest. This is what is happening in a number of countries. This is a crisis situation, and we have to be proactive. We have to addressing the prisons by contemplating a complete lockdown of prisoners and prison staff, I think, is the recipe for another possible disaster.
Maria, if I can just ask you this, obviously you're very familiar with the situation in the open centers for a long time. How vulnerable are the residents? As we know, vulnerability is there is such a thing as being vulnerable to COVID. I know that obviously a lot of refugees and migrants have endured certain trauma as well, but are there particular health concerns as well that make them more vulnerable than other communities?
In humanitarian action, the sort of the evidence on vulnerability has shifted considerably over the years. Now, obviously, in the case of COVID, and I'm not a medical expert, there are always going to be those people that are more physically vulnerable, the elderly, those with an underlying health condition. But what we would also be looking at is social vulnerability. Now, the nature of, first of all, the war and conflict and the situation in country of origin. And then you have the nature of forced migration. They are denied the right to travel legally in a way that we take for granted. So that to even get to a safe space means a lot of exposure to dangerous contexts, obviously your health suffers as a result of this as well. And then the conditions that you're living in here. And when we're talking about vulnerability and social conditions, we're not just talking about refugees. Last week, a number of NGOs issued a statement looking at social vulnerability across the board and how those people who are living in poverty and dealing with precarious situations are always going to be more vulnerable. So whilst COVID as such does not discriminate, your exposure to the disease will be impacted by the situation that you're living in. And there is absolutely no denying that the centres will produce this form of vulnerability. It is impossible for them to isolate themselves. They do not have the hygiene and sanitation that is required. They do not have the space to separate themselves. It's impossible. So it's not a case of increasing vulnerability. You're not even giving them a chance.
Yeah. We tried to show a video earlier on this program, but we'll be releasing it later on our Facebook page. But we spoke to some migrants inside the Ħal Far Open Centre, and this is what they describe, right? They describe an atmosphere where there's fear, there's anger, they're scared, you know, particularly because, you know, they know that, you know, anyone in this space could have the virus, and the kind of conditions that they're in are you know, not ideal in any case, you know, but in this particular situation, it becomes
the conditions of that, and when we're talking about access to information, that information needs to be honest as well. And let's also remind ourselves that up until very recently, because these will be recent arrivals, because with time, refugees are strong and they're able to transition into the community. But these are people that just came out of detention. So when we're talking about the detention centres, we still have an illegal detention policy in Malta. So even the context there is not exactly conducive to developing trust. You first lock me up illegally in detention, release me, and now lock me up again in conditions that I cannot. I mean, there is no chance of me getting out of this without contracting the virus. So we're not exactly encouraging trust.
Maria, I think...
So we have a conversation about detention, which is another issue.
Okay, we're getting to the end of this program. Usually, I know this program was a little bit more heated than usual, but usually it's intended to have, you know, to get some reflections on the situation we're in, even from a positive point of view. And I want to know, because I'm sure this is on your mind and the mind of many refugees, migrants, and people who work in this area. That this sort of this disease has this virus has placed us in the shoes to some extent of people who are either, you know, locked inside spaces, you know, or unable to travel or unable, you know, how do you see, you know, what's going on in terms of our viewpoints of how we see refugees and migrants? Are we starting to kind of understand their plight a bit better now?
I would say, when you say we, I'd say there's always a mixed bag. There's been ugly out there, but at times like this as well, I am always blown away by how people respond with care and with generosity and with real concern. So it really does bring out the best of in all of us. And when I'm talking about support, even from refugees that are living in the community, I mean, you know, people, they are in the open centres and they've been in detention, but then there are also refugees that have gone through that whole process and are cleaning the hospital. We have nurses who are refugees. We have surgeons who are refugees. It's the refugees that are collecting our rubbish. So they are very much a part of our community and dealing with these issues and contributing and supporting the nation as well in their own way. And I'm so, like my inbox, Chris, yesterday my phone was hot. I could not cope with the number of messages of support and people, you know, writing in, phoning in, doing everything, offering support in any way that they can. And that's really heartwarming. So, you know, this can be a turning point. It can define us in many ways. COVID can divide us or it can bring us together. I'd like to think that with the right kind of decisions, it can bring us together. And it's only together that we will get through this.
Dr. Fenech, Adami, maybe you can give us a concluding statement on that as well. Is there anything that you see from this crisis that is positive, or a learning opportunity that we should kind of keep up even when it passes?
Yeah, I think that we have to start speaking of a new normal. I hope that the new normality would be a world where solidarity will work out better than it did until a few weeks ago. I want to thank Ms. Pisani and the good work the NGOs are doing. I know that they go through very difficult moments. I know that this is I would want to appeal that this is the moment for us politicians not to be populist. The easy way out for us politicians would be to be populist, to go and lean and try and accommodate and appease the racist tendencies that unfortunately exist in our country. And my appeal to everyone out there is to understand that we are in this together. It's as a country, including these people who are unfortunately locked up, 1,000 of them, with soldiers and policemen very close to them, who are, I'm sure, going through a very difficult moment at this moment in time.
Thank you very much, Beppe, Fenech, Adami. Thank you, Maria Pisani, for being with us as well. We had earlier the Minister of Home Affairs, Byron Camilleri, and the leader of the Syrian community. Unfortunately, he got disconnected at a point, so we couldn't bring him back into the show. But I think on this note, it's also worth remembering that that yesterday was the anniversary of the murder of Lassana Cissé, a migrant who lived in Malta from the Ivory Coast, and who was shot in cold blood. We actually released the documentary Lovin Malta did about Lassana yesterday, so I do think this is a good time to reflect a bit on that and kind of, as we said before, let's not let racism rear its ugly head in the way we tackle this crisis. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties with sound in the beginning. Hopefully things will get better for the next episode. I've been Chris Peregin, and this has been COVID Calls.